Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tech Informist. This episode of the Tech Informist was recorded on Wednesday, April the 15th, 2015. It's hump day. We want to thank all of you for watching. This is a lot of fun for me because I am joined by a good friend, but we'll get to him in just a moment. The Tech Informist, for those of you who don't know, if this is your first time listening, is a show that is intended to help inform and educate listeners such as yourself about the latest news we find interesting in the world of technology with lively and entertaining commentary about the latest tech news. My name is JJ Hammond, and I'm joined today by the very handsome, smart, and all-around fun guy, Brad Whiteside. Hello, Brad, and how are you doing today, sir?
Hey. What's going on, JJ?
There you go. Well, we're doing the show, and we're gonna talk about a lot of cool stuff today. It's gonna be really fun. For those of you who want to watch us live or get involved, you can go to thetechinformist.com/live to watch and join the live chat, and also you will see the upcoming episode schedule and guest schedule if we're gonna have a guest on the show. You can email us at contact@thetechinformist.com. You can find us on Twitter @techinformist. Facebook, Google+, Instagram. Do you use iTunes? We would appreciate it if you took out a few minutes to rate us. Also, Stitcher Radio and all the other podcasting apps that allow you to rate shows. That would be really cool if you guys did that. I know that Kevin would be very happy. I know I keep referencing Kevin, but Kevin is the producer and normally co-host for the Tech Informist. He's out in Las Vegas. So, hey, brother, we miss you. We look forward to having you back next week. So just want to say thank you to everybody who's listening now, though. Time to move on to the news of the day. But before we do that, actually, you know what? I was thinking about this before the show, and I didn't put that in the show notes, but I suck at life, and that's just the way that it is. If you want to support the show, go to our website, thetechinformist.com, and you can go to /live, or I think you can go to somewhere else on the page, but on the right-hand side of the screen, more than likely, for sure on the live part, you can actually, there's different subscription levels for people who want to contribute to the show. We don't charge for the show, but if you want to donate your very generous money to furthering the cause for the Tech Informist, Kevin will be very happy about that. You can subscribe via PayPal, or MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover, or something called Bank. That's a neat little icon there because it's very vague. Or Maestro. Does anybody have Maestro? What is that? Anyway, so go there. Check that out. Let's go ahead and get into the news of the day. First of all, let's go ahead and talk about how let's see, what was it? The reviews of the new Surface 3 seem all to say it is worth the money. Awesome. But a lot of people are saying that, well, tech people, people who do reviews, like The Verge gave it like a 7.3, you know? Did you really expect it to get any higher than that? Anyways, but I think that for the most people who are going to enjoy this device, I think it's the perfect device for the crowd that wants the functionality of a tablet and laptop together. That's awesome. I don't want to spend too much time on that because we've got a lot of stories, but that's really awesome that it's getting positive reviews rather than negative ones. And I think that having Surface devices in more people's hands is going to be a good thing for Microsoft's future because I'm a fan. But on a serious note, I do want to talk about one story because I know Brad and me both enjoy these kinds of stories, how electrifying the brain wards off Parkinson's disease. Now, I think this is a little scary because the picture of this story is an electrode going to the center of her brain. So I'm not sure how excited I am about having, something being drilled into my skull cap. But, if it keeps me from getting Parkinson's, then yeah, right on. So implanting electrodes in the brain and zapping it helps patients with Parkinson's and other disorders, but doctors have never been sure why exactly. Now researchers from the UC San Francisco think that the therapy called deep brain stimulation works by altering a neural timings in much the same way that a defibrillator resets the heart rhythms, which is really important. In a healthy brain, neuron firing is controlled by low-frequency rhythms that sync up movement, memory, and other functions. The UC team found that the synchronization is too strong in Parkinson patients, making it harder for them to move voluntarily. The brain needs balance between autonomy and rhythm, which is where DBS comes in. So this is really cool, and just goes to show how mapping the human brain is extremely important. I saw a really cool article somewhere else about I think it was a rat's brain and how it looks a lot like the internet as far as how it's structured, with nets and stuff. And everybody kind of knew that, but it's neat to kind of see those diagrams and stuff. Brad, what do you think about these kinds of stories here?
Well, I think anything helping out the medical field and tech related is awesome. It always interests me, and I think we've had a few stories like that just recently, like one with the spider webs in the heart growing a human heart outside of the body. I mean, things like that is awesome. The fact that we have the technology to do that now makes it to where, we might have a brighter future in 20 years for some people. And that's amazing.
I'm really interested in the nanotechnology as far as like
little nanobots.
Yeah, nanobots.
I know, right?
Dude, that's dope. Yeah, because from what I understand, they're hoping to make them to where they go in and I don't know. Maybe I've talked about this on another show, but I did. That's right. But the nanobots, they go in and they remove bad cancer cells or whatever, or cancer or whatever, and they're like little worker robots. That's really dope. That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, Brad, you're up with a more fun story.
All right.
I think.
So, GameStop, as most people know, is where you can stop and get some games. But they are getting ready to offer classic consoles and games once again. And right now, they're testing this in New York and Birmingham, which is encompasses about 250 stores and locations. And they're going to, test this out, see how it goes. If it goes over well, they're going to start taking trade-ins and offer things all the way back to NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, original PlayStation, Nintendo 64, Sega Dreamcast. And this will increase the number of games GameStop offers either for sale or to purchase by about 5,000, which is, whoa. But I mean, so I grew up, in the Nintendo side of consoles, and I had the first NES. So, like, to see this come back almost 30 years later, that's nuts. Like, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, to me, I mean, for the nostalgia factor, I might go and get, one of these and just, fool around with it one day or so. But that's really cool. I think you would like something like this, JJ.
I would. I was thinking a lot about this story when I saw you put this in here, as far as consoles and games, because I don't know if you knew this, but the IEEE, which is an organization that watches out for copyrights on. Oh, I put somebody to sleep, I swear to God. Anyways, an IEEE, but go check them out on Twitter or go check out their website. They're an international organization that sets standards. And that's really important because, standards in the copyright, technical, you got Cisco, Microsoft, everybody, Linux, all that kind of thing, Unix and stuff like that. They set the kind of standard that allows you to do financial transactions across the world and stuff like that. It's really neat if you dive into the history there. But anyway, so one of the things they talked about was protecting copyright laws on games. And you're either in two different fields when it comes to these classic games. You're in the getting what are those called? Simulators. You can either get like a simulator and then you can get like ripped off emulator. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
so what did I say? Simulators? Okay.
Yeah,
so yeah, same difference. So anyway, so you have that range of people who are just like, dude, screw it. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get these games and I'm going to play them on whatever I want. Yo, what's up now? And then you have the other people who are wanting to do things on the legit side as far as in the eyes of, copyright and all that kind of stuff. So then they're this nostalgia factor. They want to blow out, they want to blow out the cartridges and put them back in, and they want to, have a Sega Saturn and play Bug or whatever.
I think this rings more true to our generation because we still kind of hold on to things like books and Blu-rays and DVDs, and we still like the physical copies of things. I
I
can't
still
say
have.
that's not true for, some of the younger generation, but I think for the most part they want all digital because let's be honest, it's easier.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I still have like you said, the books or whatever. I still have copyright 1984. So check this out, dude. This is the I had this when I was a kid. It's
That's
the
awesome. That is
Transformers,
awesome.
the Transformers Battle for Cybertron book. It's a storybook, sure, but it's totally hardcore. So, but anyways, I like the physical copies of things, and I've talked about that several times before. But I think it ranged true, like you said, for our generation, and I think that it means more because it's something that we can physically see, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like a painting, right? Like it's weird, but I used to be in the camp where I wanted paintings that were like the physical stuff. But then I was like, whoa, dude, you can have like a million paintings, right? In digital form, right? And they don't take up room on the wall because, I mean, how many times am I staring at my wall, right? Like activities like that are going to become not as ubiquitous. So, for example, when HoloLens comes out, it's going to be like, I'm going to take everything off my walls because I'm going to be casting stuff to all my different, does that, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like that's the future, right? And that's going to be interesting because I can have whatever Monet or, Van Gogh or whatever, and it's going to look just as gorgeous as the real thing. So I think that kind of, there's two camps, like I said. And I think that this is good for the physical stores because some people are going to want that feeling of going down to the store and getting a game and a gaming console or whatever, and that's going to be really important. And then you're going to have the other generation who's going to want
So
the
real
other thing
quick,
because like vinyls are still a thing, right?
yeah, real quick before we wrap this up, going down to the store to get a game anymore, most people aren't going to be doing that on the newer generations, especially. And I think GameStop is seeing that and realizing that. So they're like,
Mm-hmm.
we need to still be relevant. And I
Right.
think this is a perfect way to do it because,
I
like I
wholeheartedly
said,
agree.
I mean, the first and last time that I've bought games for my Xbox One were on launch day. Like since then, I bought nothing but digital copies because it's so much easier.
It's the convenience, right?
It really is. So
That's why Radio Shack is gone.
yeah.
Amazon. I mean, wait, I don't have to get out of my boxer shorts. What are you serious?
All
Yeah,
right,
but
go ahead with your next story if you'd
no,
like.
I just wanted to say though that you are spot on because think about it when it comes to the vinyl record stuff, right? And the different like shirts and the hot topicy type stuff. Like how do you stay relevant? Well, you sell things that are for like hipsters and people who want, this sort of like you said, nostalgia factor and all this other kind of stuff. So I think this is the right way to go for sure. Like Slackers was really a lot of fun, but let's have a little bit more fun. And okay, so I remember. By the way, don't like if I support something, you should probably go buy the other thing because I went with a Sega Saturn when it came out. PlayStation kicked its butt. I went with Dreamcast and all that kind of stuff. Kicked its butt. I went with gosh, what was going on when the Nintendo? So I went with the Sega console when that was a thing. Well, a lot of people were that way. But anyway, so when I first played Mortal Kombat, I was like, dude, my parents are never gonna like once they see me play this, they're never gonna let me play it again because when you punch somebody, blood like
Yeah, there you go.
8-bit blood came flying out, and it was like this is the coolest thing ever. Because it looked like like tomato sauce or whatever. It was a ridiculous color, but they're never gonna let me play this again. But I played it all the way up until I'm like 19, 18, or wait, yeah, until I was like 17. Because when I was 18, that doesn't matter. But I played it all the way up until then. And the last one I played was Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
So I had played Sub-Zero's like spin-off game. I'd played all this other kind of stuff. And it was weird because I never got tired of that game. I got tired of Tekken. I got tired of crap. What's that other one? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But
Street Fighter.
Street Fighter. Thank you. I knew you'd be there for me. So when Mortal Kombat was coming out with Mortal Kombat X, holy cow! I was excited because I'm looking forward to one day being able to play this game. I'm not able to play it yet, but seeing some of the streams and some of the pictures and the captions, whenever I was able to do the fatalities, that was so much fun.
Right.
The screen goes dark, and then you're just like, I did it, because you do the code, right? You got to do the code first, and then it goes in, and you're just like, yeah, because first you got to beat the guy, and then you got to do the code right, or the fatality doesn't come in, right? So this is so much fun. So Mortal Kombat X, Engadget did a really good story on the comedy of violence. And it's true, but it's neat and all this other kind of stuff. What do you have to say about the series and all this other kind of stuff?
Just to throw in a few tidbits, because I'd actually listened to Major Nelson's podcast with him talking about this. So each character has like 3 variations of that character now. So when you go and fight Scorpion versus Raiden, Scorpion number 1 might suck against Raiden number 1, but Scorpion number 3 might be a better fit for beating Raiden number 1. So like I said, each one has different variations, and it's to fit your playstyle. I mean, if you like playing a certain way, but you like that character, you might have a different variation than other people, and I think that's cool. Number 2, they have a what was it? There's it's not a fatality. I think it's called brutality, and it's using like a move that is a normal move, but if you use it when they have a sliver of health left, it just instantly auto kills them. And like like for instance, there's one guy that throws his helmet, and if you do it when they have a sliver of health left, and you take him down with that, it literally cuts his head off. Like, I mean, if you're into the fighting games like that and you like that stuff, it's just joyous to do that to your opponent.
Right. Because it's not real. I mean,
exactly.
I fall into the camp where I think I think that understanding the difference between real and fake and all that other kind of stuff, is very important. But if it's fake, then just make it ridiculously fake, to where it's so fake that it doesn't even, it's not even a thing.
Right, and they know that. Like, they make it a little campy, and they make it very arcadey, and that's good. That's what people like about that game. That it brings them back to the days of the arcades, where people would put quarters in slots and play on these huge cabinets that were basically a computer. But I mean, still, I mean, it was the fun of going with your friends and beating the crap out of each other in an arcade and having an audience behind you, watching those games. That's what that's what people like when they play that game.
Right, exactly. And I don't know. I read this story. It'll be in our show notes when it's ready. But man, just it looks so like just ridiculous fun, right? Like just ridiculous fun, unabated ridiculous fun. Speaking of not that, what's up with the Radio Shack?
So as you all know, Radio Shack's out of business. But they keep selling off assets, and it turns out that the bankruptcy court is giving them the go-ahead to sell customer data. If you've ever given them anything, they have your data, and now they're wanting to sell it off to the highest bidder for whatever amount, which I think is really uncool, because their privacy policy will not carry over, obviously, past the bankruptcy, and that's, I don't know, that's really lame of them. Like, that is just lame. But according to a report, Texas is one of the states fighting the bankruptcy court, and so is Delaware, because they don't think that they should be able to sell personal data.
I like that.
As that just shouldn't be a thing.
Sure.
That should not be an asset that they have. I mean, it is an asset, but they shouldn't be able to rely on that for money,
like a commodity.
Right. For lack of a better term, it really is lame, and I really despise them for doing that. That's people's personal data, and they gave it to you when you were an actual company. I mean, you're not anymore, but Why would you pull this card on people? That's just, I mean, what do you think, JJ?
Yeah, dude. I mean, you know me, we were talking a lot before the show about, privacy and all this other kind of stuff. And I think this is like one of those things, man. Like it goes to my point where it's just like um we should protect this stuff. It's
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
us.
It goes the same way. Like, what if you're giving Google all this stuff and all of a sudden they go bankrupt? Ha ha ha. I know it's funny,
Yeah,
but
right,
I
right,
mean,
right,
what
right.
if they went bankrupt?
Right.
Does that mean they're going to sell off your data and everything
Mhm.
you surfed on Chrome? And like
Yeah.
it's a real possibility. Microsoft
Yeah.
could do the same thing, you
Yeah,
know?
totally. Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
a little wake up call is all.
Yeah.
I think we all need
Yeah.
to be aware of what we're giving and who we're giving it to. And I just, thought our listeners should know that Radio Shack is wanting to sell their personal data if they have given their personal data to Radio Shack.
You know,
I
you
have
know,
not.
we should set some time aside on Friday's show to talk about the virtual self.
Yeah,
And what I mean by that is like you have yourself, your personal self, and then you have
and
your
your
digital
digital
self.
self.
Yeah, because you have footprints that you leave behind.
Indeed.
And we should do that. That would be a lot of fun. We could just totally geek out about that subject. So you know what? Let's save that until Friday. Because we got a lot of shows, and I really want to get to the EU and the whole Google antitrust stuff. So
Yeah, let's do it.
that's really interesting. So the next story that we have up is where's my 8K? Just kidding. Where's my 4K TV? Just kidding. Because I can't afford that. Anyways, so this is another story that I think is relevant because Brad and I were talking about this before, where it's the more and more I get stuff that's in front of me that's better than real life, like these colors don't exist in real life. This is all fake, so to speak. I mean, the way that the tones are hued and all that kind of jazz, the less likely you're going to ever see me out in public. Because this is the world that I want to live in. I don't want to live out there. So Vizio is coming out with their 4K TVs, the M series, in a similar fashion to the P series. It comes to us via Engadget, so thank you. From last year, which started at $1,000. This year's model also comes with an affordable price tag. The M series ranges from $600 for a 43-inch model to $4,000 for the 80-incher. But I don't see anybody in the 80-incher, not anybody that I know anyway. I don't judge. If you want to get the 80-inch, that's fine. Vizio says that the M series is all about making refinements and not compromising in order to bring the price down even further. As such, most tech companies on the P series has made its way to, or excuse me, most tech found on the P series has made its way to the M series, like the LED panel and the low latency HDMI port. This is loved by gamers. Absolutely. The UHD TV sets look great in person. They're relatively thin, sport a solid industry design, and mostly importantly, have a picture quality that's not far behind its most expensive competitor. I wholeheartedly agree with this article. And again, this is via Engadget, and that's Edgar Alvarez. Good job. I think, looking at these pictures and other posts about Vizio, they've always been for me like on the cusp of being a really nice brand, but I've had some bad experience with some of their products in the past where they've either quit working or something like that. But I think the more and more these 4K displays come down in price, just the better for everybody, man, because this stuff is sick. I mean, if Kevin were here, he would tell you he was at CES and he saw like these crazy ultra super sonic, Samsung high def wide angle curved displays. And it's just sick. So Brad, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, Vizio kind of reminds me of what RCA used to be back when I was a kid. They're that lower end brand, and they do just well enough to where if you don't have a lot of money, go ahead and get a Vizio. It'll last you for a little bit. It'll do its job, and whatever. But I mean, I think it's awesome that we're hitting that $600 mark because that's in my price range now for a new TV. And not that I'm looking for a new TV just yet, but
are you saying they're the 640 line or 630 line from Microsoft? No, I don't know. I like poking fun wherever I can.
but
it'll hold you over until you get your next device.
yeah, definitely. But you know, I think it's really cool that Vizio is being very competitive in their pricing in the 4K market because we need that right now. Because right now they're just ridiculously priced. Let's be honest. You know, $3,000 for a curved OLED 65-inch or whatever from LG or Samsung. Come on, guys. I mean, I know it's cool. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's that. I don't think it's 3,000 cool.
Yeah.
Well, at least not for me. But I'm a champagne taste on a beer budget.
There you go.
But
Oh man,
anyway,
that's the best way to say something.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's definitely good stuff.
Yeah, and I see that you know, I can see more people. So what do you think about the idea of having instead of dual monitors, the ultra wide, ultra high
Yeah.
def? Like,
So
where do you fall on that?
so like right before the show, we were talking about you know, the 4Ks and whatnot, and there's a new monitor out by Samsung, I believe. It's either Samsung or LG. It might even be Dell. And anyway, it's an ultra wide panel. It's I want to say it's a 34-inch or something.
Oh
Ultra
yeah,
wide,
yeah.
curved, 4K, OLED, like top of the line. And it looks like it would be amazing to game on. And plus having one monitor where
Hmm.
there's not like a break in your picture instead of like the 2 or 3 monitors that people do. I think that's amazing. Like, get rid of that break down those walls, and let's you know, span that baby out and, you know, look at what the developers really wanted you to see and not just broken up pictures of what they wanted you to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all for ultra wide, especially for gaming. I don't think it goes true in every scenario. I don't think a movie would be cool like that. I mean, I could be wrong. I've never watched a movie in ultra wide, so I don't know.
Right.
It really would depend on the aspect ratio, obviously, of what the movie was shot in, but I don't see them shooting in ultra wide anytime soon.
That makes sense.
But I am all for that as a computer monitor.
Agreed. Totally agreed. All right, so you're up next with an Apple story, and this is really interesting to me because a lot of people buy phones based off of the camera quality. Go.
Yeah, so this piqued my interest on multiple levels. Number one, the first reason, let me just read you the title. Apple just made a big move that could take the next iPhone camera to the next level. Um, when I go to buy a smartphone, camera is like my number one thing that I look at.
Right.
I take a lot of pictures, and you know, they're not always of food or beer, and that's fine. You know, sometimes I think, you know, the sky just looks really amazing, and I take a few snaps of those and put it on my OneDrive and save it for later. But today, as in yesterday, they announced that they acquired LinX. That's LINX for $20 million. It's a company based out of Israel. Now, this is where it's interesting because Microsoft had worked with a company prior to that out of Israel as well called PrimeSense on Project
Hmm.
Natal, aka Connect. And
Ooh.
yeah, so that's why it's really interesting, is because you have all these imaging places out of Israel. I, I guess that's where the best imaging stuff comes from. I don't know. It's really strange that they're both out of Israel and they're completely separate companies and, you know, doing their own thing. But that's the number two reason why it piqued my interest, is that they were both out of Israel, and like that's the last place I would think for imagery. Honestly, like I'm not trying to be mean. I had no idea. I thought that was interesting. What do you think, JJ?
Yeah, I was just kind of taking it all in because I was thinking about some of the stories that I've been hearing about the depth sensors, right?
Yeah. So like part of the so LinX makes really small cameras, almost
Right.
comparable to DSLRs, and
Hmm.
you know, they're great in a low light situation. They cut shutter lag. The color fidelity is wonderful, apparently. And I mean, if all this goes into a new iPhone, this could be a killer camera. Let's be honest. Apple doesn't just, you know, buy things up and save them for later, or
Right.
buys them up just so they, you know, can kill the competition like 90s era Microsoft.
Right.
You know, they buy them up and they put them in their products. So look forward to this camera stuff coming in a iPhone near you.
Right. Right. Um, man, this, you know, this is deep thought. So My first thought is, have you ever wondered if you could take one picture and then it be, I don't want to say a 3D picture, but it's because that sounds stupid, but follow this logic here, is where it's a picture that has so much to it to where you can go back later and focus in on objects that are close and objects that are far away. And then if you, when you were a kid, if you ever make one of those boxes with different characters inside, and then you look inside and it's got this whole field of view thing going on, to where it makes things look like you're there, right?
Right.
And it gives it like this depth. When you think about that, plus these VR deals, right, where you put it on your head, you can imagine when you're taking pictures with your iPhone, and future devices where I could see Apple getting into the VR, stuff, or even AR stuff. So when you put this thing on, whatever it is, you can put yourself in the landscape of where that person was when they took that photo. Does all this make sense, or am I talking crazy?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I could see this being the next big thing in camera technology, where it's sensing the whole the whole room. Like I could stand back in the corner of this room, take a picture, and then you could, potentially someone else could then, or me later, then put on a kind of like this thing to where I would see exactly like the depth of view and all that stuff. Like everything would be just like legit. So I see this with this. Maybe I'm off on a crazy town like I always am, but this would make sense in the next big version of this technology for cameras. Because what do cameras do? They capture the moment. Well, what if you could capture everything in that moment, like everything, right?
And then put on a helmet and step into that reality. I mean, that would be an awesome application for, let's say, apartment hunting.
Well, Google's Google's Tango, or whatever that was called, did that to a certain extent. So this isn't crazy, like this isn't out the realm out of possibility for what they're trying to do.
Oh, well, anymore, there's very little out of our realm of possibility,
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but I mean, like you were just saying, like realtors, or all this kind of stuff.
If you could just put on a helmet at your house and pull up a Skype call with your realtor. I mean, not saying that that's the preferred way, but let's say you just couldn't make it out there,
right,
for reasons unknown. That's really convenient, especially if you're trying to still make it to work on time too. You could just, hey, check out a few places real quick, and not spend all day on like 5 apartments because they're all spaced out across the city, and use up all that gas and hurt the environment even by using all that gas. I mean, you could just throw on that helmet, this is what I like about this room. Actually step into the room in a way and look around and kind of get close to things. I think it's a very real possibility here soon in the future. Maybe
absolutely.
20 years from now, maybe 50. I don't know, but I think we'll see stuff like that soon.
I hope so. That is really cool. And a diorama. Thank you.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah, I know.
Thank you, some gadget guy. I appreciate that. That'll save me from myself. Sold rule the Rico Theta. I'm gonna have to check that out. Okay, so I'm up next. LG is an electronics company, and they are really taking their products to a wider range of people than I originally thought that I've ever seen before. I mean, they've been in the news more lately than I think I've ever seen them in the news before. But anyways, this competitor to Sonos looks really cool. So I was talking about this earlier in the show a little bit about the physical media stuff, removing pictures from the wall and, casting stuff to my walls and being able to look over at it and hit Netflix and play or whatever as I'm doing stuff and walking around. Yeah, it's the future. It looks really cool. I'm excited. But the other thing, too, is being able to cast stuff. So Miracast is kind of a big deal. I know people that use Google Chrome, they like being able to cast it to their Chromecast and all this other kind of stuff. This stuff is neat, I think, in general. But for people who have Sonos, you probably really like it because it's pretty cool. Have you ever checked out a Sonos before, Brad?
No, I haven't actually.
Well, it's a Bluetooth speaker, so whatever. But it does it's like the Bose type thing going on, right?
Okay.
It's got really good quality to it. All right. So LG came out with a again, this comes to us via Engadget, so I'm kind of on their roll today. But Billy Steele did an article about it. Their speakers are ready to take on Sonos in the U.S. So basically at CES they showed this stuff off, and the company's music flow line of gadgets is equipped with Google Cast, the same tech that allows you to beam video to a TV via Chromecast. So they're using Google's stuff for this. This means that you can send tunes to one of your speakers with your phone and a capable app. Speaking of apps, there's the current list, which includes Google Play Music, Pandora, and Rdio, TuneIn, and a couple more. Spotify should be coming later, and LG is hoping that you choose their stuff over Sonos. Now, where you can see this to be kind of cool is, so for me, I like this idea of being able to, if I come across something that's really cool on my mobile device, it's mobile for a reason. Why not make that even cooler by just like casting it out to either speakers? If I just want to, like, if I catch a new tune, like Everclear's the Man That Broke His Own Heart, I listened to that for the first time the other day, and it was amazing, sounded great, but I wanted to hear it in its full-blown awesomeness instead of just on my speakerphone from my mobile device, which many people run into that problem, right? Podcasts are great. You can just put that on speaker and go to town. But if you want to hear like the richness quality of a little bit better quality, let's just say that, than your phone speaker, you kind of want to cast that or plug in headphones, right? Well, the Sonos stuff is like you just beam it to, or kind of like Bluetooth it to or whatever, to an external device that it's much more capable and provides a richer experience. So this seems pretty cool. The speakers are available in 30 watt, 40 watt, and 70 watt options, ranging from 179 up to 379. Is this something that you think you'd be into?
I mean, it sounds really cool. I don't know if you can see back behind me that white circle right there.
Yeah.
That's my Harman Kardon.
Oh, nice.
And thank you, Sarah, my fiance, for getting that.
Right.
It's amazing. It's basically like they took a giant subwoofer and put a case over it, and there's your speaker. And it does highs, lows. It sounds amazing. And actually, Sprint has this deal. Little plug, real quick. Sprint has a deal where if you like buy accessories, you can get it for like $150 instead of the $400. So really cool deal. But yeah, I mean, if LG has something that's even cooler than that, I'll check it out. I mean, because that thing is cool. I mean, it's portable. You can charge the battery, unplug it, play it, for, I think it's like up to 8 hours or something, 8, 10, something. I don't remember. But yeah,
Nice.
I love the portable speaker aspect, especially, like you said, if you're wanting to check out something in its full like range or close to that.
Mm-hmm.
Portable speaker is the way to go versus your cell phone. Your cell phone, while it may, have front-facing speakers like on the Nexus 6 or just have a really loud speaker in the 1520, sometimes you can't get those full highs and lows, and to cast it out to something that can is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I almost said abso-freaking-lutely. So yeah, so let's get to the next crazy story. So this is going to be a couple of minutes, I should say, a story. Okay, so Google, they're huge. They make up 80% of the mobile landscape. They make up a ridiculous number of devices that run on Android. Their search is huge. They're a monolithic company. It's their products are everywhere. So it's interesting to find out. Now, Microsoft had the same problem back in the day. And now Google seems to be able to kind of fight this a little bit more because they got what we call money to throw at this situation. Okay. Because I think everybody can be bought for a price. And I think that they have enough money to where they have the price. They can match that price. Anyways, the EU expected to file anti-suit against Google, and they're looking into Android. Okay, this is a big deal because the Wall Street Journal reports that after a huge investigation, they're willing to file a violation against them, and it to the tune of $6 billion if they're found guilty. Now, that's a lot of dough. I mean, 1 more billion, then you could have bought Nokia. Look how that turned out. But whatever. Just joking. Man, I need to back off. Look, I'm wearing a band today. Okay, a Microsoft band. So don't judge me. All right. Not you, Brad, but our listeners. Anyways, this is interesting just because if this is just Google, the search, I wonder what they're going to find out about Google's Android operating system, right? Like the Google Play version, not the open source, right?
Right.
Yikes. So there's a lot to this story. It's very interesting. The EU is Europe's kind of a regulatory watchdog, so to speak, for monopolies and antitrust stuff. This is a big deal, like I said, because they make it, they can make life really hard on U.S. tech companies. So, Brad, what's your thoughts on this?
I think this story rings true to what Microsoft used to be, especially in the early 90s, that they had so much power that they abused it. And I mean, I'm not saying that, never buy Google stuff. I'm just saying that as a company, I think things like this need to be looked after, because otherwise you're not just going to hurt the big companies, but you're really going to hurt the little guys. You're going to, stuff them in a dark hole, and you're never going to be able to find them on Google search, because, I mean, especially if they're allowed to do some of the practices that they have, been accused of.
I'd like for somebody just to tell me what's up,
yeah, I don't know, full on everything of this story. So, but I know enough that they leaked an antitrust suit. What was it? The Wall Street Journal leaked it from.
Was it Recode? Yeah, Recode.
Yeah, and it was like a 2011 when they did this, so that was like 4 years ago, and then they decided not to do the antitrust suit. Not sure why they chose that. Well, the EU picked up on it.
You mean in the United States?
Yeah, here in the United States. Okay. Then the EU picked up on it. And they're like, "Whoa, this is real." I mean, we were thinking about,
girl, yeah, that's not
we
the way
were
we're
thinking about doing this, but now we're nailing you guys to the wall. Like, we have evidence. Like, so, I mean, I don't know what could come of this, because I don't know. Can they break up Google even though they're an EU
no, they could fine them.
Okay.
But here's what's interesting. I read the article from Android Central, the internal memo that Google sent to its own peeps, right?
Right.
So there was an internal memo that went out. If you haven't read it yet, go to androidcentral.com and check it out. It's a really lengthy memo. That it's Google's response internally to the EU and even the FTC stuff, right? So this idea of so this happened to Microsoft, and this is now happening to Google. So what I can't remember exactly what happened with the Microsoft thing. I think it was they just fined them because Microsoft changed.
And then they put them on like a 10-year watch list, and watched them for 10 years solid to make sure that they weren't doing anything,
monopoly, shady, right. So I think that's what happened. But I'm not taking the side of. Oh, this is. I just got sick for a second, but I'm not taking the side of Google here. But why? Why would I, as a company, right? So say if I was a company or whatever, why would I want to make something and then allow other people to use competing things on my deal? Isn't there some choice there, or no? Am I wrong about that, or how does that work? I mean, Microsoft did that with Internet Explorer to Netscape, because for those of you who don't know, Netscape was the hottest thing since sliced bread. Just kidding.
Oh, Netscape.
It was actually a little ridiculous. I mean, the whole thing was ridiculous. I remember using Netscape on a Mac, one of those big tube-looking things that were colored back in the day, because my school got one. I liked it a lot because it had a see-through keyboard. That was dope. So Microsoft got in trouble because they were bundling their Internet Explorer as the default browser and not allowing. I think they didn't allow you to set something else as a default Explorer, something. I don't know. Anyways, long story short of it is you can't do that. But why? It's they make that, so why wouldn't they? I mean, I know choice is important and I get that, but at the same time, why would a company make something that other people could profit from? That doesn't make a whole lot of
Right, I
sense.
can see where you're coming from. So like it's kind of like, there's Bing search, there's Google search, there's DuckDuckGo.
Right.
Like what stops the customer necessarily from using some of those other services versus Google? You
Right.
know, uh, I guess people have been using Google since, I mean, I used to use Google since like 2001. So, I mean, that's
Hmm.
way back, like right when they first were getting going. I don't remember when they actually started as a company, but I mean, I started using them really, far back. And what does stop a customer from using Google versus something else, or, using something else versus Google? And I can't answer that because I don't know. But that's an interesting way to look at that.
Yeah. I mean, think about Apple for God's sake. I mean, if you're gonna be this way about, say, Google, for example, then you need to go after Apple for iOS. It needs to be open sourced or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
that iWatch needs to, or the Apple Watch needs to, work on all my devices.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that I guess that's my point. Somebody needs to tell me I'm wrong and then why I'm wrong, not just tell me I'm wrong.
Right. Like I said, I don't know the full details of the story. I just know that they've been served as of today, officially.
Yeah.
They're going to look into it, and I think it said it was going to look into Android as well.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying earlier. They're going to look
yeah,
into Android too.
that's very
So,
interesting.
so I'm like, well, you don't have 80% of the market and not get some flack, right?
Well,
Like you
exactly.
just
It's
don't.
just like
But I don't
early,
see how it's their fault.
just like 90s Microsoft. You don't have like 90% of the people or 95% of the people using PCs in the world and not get flack for
Right. Doing something wrong.
owning the market essentially.
Right.
Not to say that that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it it makes competition extremely difficult.
Yeah, but it's like if something sucks, you need to make it better, not
Exactly,
not
and I agree with
blame
that.
somebody else. I mean, because I think I really, I'm not saying that that's what's wrong with Microsoft today was because of what happened 10 or 15 years ago or whatever,
Hmm.
but it sure didn't help, you know?
No,
And it's like that company would be a way stronger company in the face of Google, for example. Um, and how Google has overtaken Microsoft,
right.
a little bit as far as everything. I don't know. This is it's a huge implications because it makes you wonder. It's like, well, then why do these tech companies make it? I mean, are they trying to? I don't know. So I like I said, I know I'm probably way off here on this, but it's one of those things where it's like I can see both sides here.
Right,
On the
exactly.
one hand, you got a whole bunch of people who are using this service, but at the same time, you're like, well, just don't use that service. It's like, but it's I could see it in the broadband thing. Like, there's only friggin' there's only like one choice for high speed internet in my area. How is that not a monopoly, right? I could see it there because
Yeah.
that's my access to a service, right? But if you did a search I'm pretty sure if you did a search on Google for a specific thing, it's gonna come up. Like,
So going
I don't
back
know.
to your broadband thing, in the city of St. Louis, like South St. Louis area, I only have two choices. I have
Right.
AT&T and I have
Mm-hmm.
Charter.
Right.
And to be in the city of St. Louis and only have two choices, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, how's
that's
that not? You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
And
I don't know.
unfortunately, the broadband providers back in the day were like, oh, well, laying cable is really expensive. So if you give us this monopoly, we'll lay the cable. And the FCC went ahead and did that. And
Right.
because they did that, they have the power right now, and we're slowly breaking down those walls, and it's really upsetting the broadband providers. Like, for example, what just happened with the internet? Help me out here, JJ.
Net
Uh,
neutrality?
yeah, net neutrality. Like that drove them nuts, and they want to sue the crap out of the U.S. government for
Well, everybody is suing them now.
yeah, and I don't think that's right. I think the internet needs to stay open,
Yeah.
and I think that they need to deal with that, because if they don't take that pill, they have to take the other pill, like in the Matrix,
Yeah.
and the other pill is going to be, opening it up to local governments being able to make their own choices and make their own internet and control their own internet. And that is really going to cut into their business. I can tell you that right now.
For sure.
So I think they should hush and take it and just let it be. Yeah, you can't, overcharge people even more than you already are, but at least you can still charge them this now, versus not being able to charge them anything because you're out of business, because your local government has a better offer, faster internet, and it's way cheaper.
Right. Well, I tell you what, let's shelf the rest of this conversation for Friday, and because I think that we could really do a good job on Friday on these two topics. So let's keep that in mind, and let's just plan on doing that for Friday's show. So we're moving on to our app and entertainment picks of the week. Mine, I didn't want to recommend this until I saw the whole first season. And I watched the whole first season. It's called The 100, and it's from the CW channel, and it's by Warner Brothers. And man, do they do a really good job, Warner Brothers, I think, with just really good content. I mean, just like they are so good on special effects and the scene and the casting and all that other kind of stuff. You could argue that there's some drama that could be left out, but hey, people like that sort of thing. I'm not one of a fan of that, but I'm not a chick, so whatever. But The 100 is a show. It's on the CW, so that's on over the air channels, and you can pick it up on any of the, not any, but I would say Amazon, and I don't know if it's on Netflix. And I don't think it's on Netflix yet, but it's you can buy it right now, but I don't think it's on any of the streaming services yet.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, but it's about how a nuclear holocaust happened on Earth. So a bunch of the nations that could made a space station where they sent the remaining survivors from the world up to the space station. Well, they're up there, and some of their systems are failing after 100 or so years or whatever. So they take a whole bunch of people who are in prison. So 100 kids that are in prison, and they ship them down to Earth to find out if it's inhabitable. And if it isn't, then they're all going to die from radiation poisoning. No big deal, right? They'll just keep trying to, euthanize the population on the space station if that's the case. Well, it turns out once the 100 reaches the ground, that there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. So they try to get back in touch with the orbiting space station, which is a huge, massive structure that's put together with a whole bunch of space stations. So you have, China, America, Russia, all this other kind of stuff, space stations put together to make one big space station or whatever. It's a whole thing. So collect them all and you can build Ultron. But Voltron, I mean. So it's a really good show. There's a lot of I could see how it's kind of geared towards maybe a younger audience, but being older, I really appreciate it from the sociological perspective, of the different dynamics of, having a bunch of degenerates, as like your one hope, so to speak, and like willing to sacrifice them. And then it's a really, really good show. It's really well done with the first season. They could totally screw it up next season, but that's my entertainment pick for this week. Brad, you're up.
That sounds really cool, JJ. I'm gonna have to check that out.
It's gorgeous.
It really is. Like it's something up my alley.
The main character is a chick, which I normally don't. I've just never seen a girl, and it's dark. Like this show is super dark.
Oh, that's really up my alley then.
Yeah. It's super dark. It's real. Like the second episode, a little girl kills somebody.
Oh wow.
And and it's very graphic, but she kills this person in a way that's like serial killish, and it shows it's really dark, but it's totally dope. And I think that our listeners should check it out. It's called The 100. I don't even know if the second season is around or if it got picked up. I'm gonna have to do some research, but this first season was phenomenal. You're up.
All right, real quick, my pick is nice and simple and is a little more, I guess, fun, or well, not fun, not more fun, but you know what I mean. It's World of Tanks for the PC, and it's actually on the 360, and it's coming to Xbox One. But it is free to play, not play to win, or not pay to win. So what's cool about this is, you know, you've got close to 300 different kinds of tanks that you can work towards and unlock and gear up and make them look kind of cool with different paint jobs and whatnot, or camo rather. And it's a bunch of the different nation tanks, whether it be like completely historically accurate or maybe just slightly historically accurate because they didn't build all of these tanks. But it's fun because you get 2 groups of 15 together and you guys just have at it. And you know, that's kind of the simple version of it. There's a lot more in-depth and end game to that, but it's really fun to play, and you should check it out because it's free, and you don't have to pay for anything to make it worth playing. You can keep playing it all the way up to the end and still have fun playing it, and still, you know, achieve what you want to achieve without paying a dime. So that's really cool. World of Tanks, free to play. Check it out.
Nice. That's cool. Well, you know, I hate to say this, Brad, but we've reached the end of the show.
We have.
But I had a lot of fun with you. Thanks for being on again.
Yep, no problem.
To submit any topics for upcoming episodes or guest suggestions, please email them to contact@thetechinformist.com. And that does it for another episode of The Tech Informist. We would like to thank all of our listeners and viewers. We truly appreciate it. Thank you also to those who joined the chat room. Some gadget guy, really appreciate you being here. So from everyone here at The Tech Informist, consider yourself informed. And until next time, we are out.
See ya.